Hello, good humans. I'm Inauti Gill, your host for the Good Human Chronicles, and I am so excited to be here today. Season 2, welcome. And I am excited to introduce our first guest of the season, Karolyn Thompson. Karolyn, thank you for being here. Hi.
I'm so excited you asked me for season 2. So thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. I can't wait to introduce you to the world and let everyone know what an amazing human you are. But first, let's start with, who's Karolyn Thompson? Tell us about yourself.
I often ask myself that same question. So I am a lifelong resident of the Hudson Valley. I think it's the most beautiful spot to raise a family. I am an executive director for Leadership Orange, and I know that's our connection,
yes,
among other things. I am a mom to a 16-year-old girl.
Teenager.
Yeah, so I have to get my hair dyed a lot more often now. I also have 2 beautiful stepchildren. Husband, we live in Beacon, and yeah.
Awesome. You have a lot of roles, a lot of hats that you wear.
I do.
Yeah.
A good thing I like hats.
And you look good in them too.
Thank you.
What would be your most significant role out of all of those?
Being a mom.
Yeah.
I always knew I wanted to be a mom. In my 20s, even though I wasn't ready to have children, I still knew that I wanted to be a mom.
Just had that feeling.
I had that feeling. I've always had that feeling. But the moment I found out that I was having Maddie was filled with so many emotions. And it was, and I still say to this day, it's the greatest gift that I have ever received.
Has it been an easy journey?
No.
Yeah. It never is, right?
No, and I think has been moments where it's been scary. I did have a miscarriage prior to having Maddie, and that was very, very difficult. We were trying, and I think you never think it's going to happen to you, but when it does, it's shocking, and then it's guilt because what did I do wrong? Did I not take care of myself enough? Did I do too much? So a lot of emotions.
Yeah.
It was a journey. I had a great doctor that I worked with, and talking to some of my friends who also experienced having a miscarriage just put me in a better mental space.
Yep. You found your support.
I did. And then I was blessed, and my pregnancy was challenging, but she's here, and
16 years later.
And I'm obsessed with her.
Thank you. First, I want to acknowledge you sharing something as big as you having a miscarriage. As someone who also has had 2 miscarriages,
It's hard.
It's hard. And we don't talk about that as women. We don't talk about it enough. And, I find that in social media now, there is such a space of support with the rainbows and, your little angel babies. But as someone also who grew up with a sister who had 8 miscarriages and was never able to have any children of her own, I found myself when I had my first just being in shock of how challenging that was, how hard. And everything you just said about the guilt, everything you just said about what did I do? Did I do too much? I'll never forget that my first one, actually, it was after I went for a walk, and I blamed it on the walk. I'm like, I shouldn't have walked. And I'm talking, I went for like a 20-minute walk, and not fast paced. It was literally just a small walk. But that guilt that we carry as moms, right? As moms. So thank you for sharing that. And I am also so glad that you talked about your support system, because we have to find support in each other, right? And the second we start saying, this is what I experienced, so many other women start saying, oh my gosh, me too. I've experienced the same. So awesome. Kudos for creating that community. And now you have your Maddie.
My Maddie Moo. I call her Maddie Moo. She gets embarrassed, but I'll still call her Maddie Moo until she's like 50.
There you go. I love it. I love it. At her wedding, make sure you call her that.
I am.
What would you say, some of the biggest challenges of being a parent, of being a mom?
I think the older that they get, it's like a new set of challenges. So I think it's stages, right? When she was younger, it's the challenge of, am I going to be around enough? Between work and other life commitments is, am I always going to be there enough? Am I going to make every single school function? And you kind of worry about things like that. And if I'm not there, how is she feeling? Or other moms there? Or other dads
Who's
there?
judging? Who's seeing that you're not there?
Right? Because I was an older mom.
Mm.
I say older, but I still look fabulous.
Of course you do.
But a lot of moms nowadays have the luxury of either like not working, or they're young and they have much more flexibility, but I just remember missing a few things early on just because my employer at the time, I was the only one that had a young child, and that's a challenge too.
Yes, it is.
And it was just thinking, how is she feeling knowing that there's a mother's tea and I'm not there? So it's those challenges of like, will I have enough time? And then once you kind of correct that and prioritize, which I did, then it's a whole other like, oh my God, they're growing up. Now they're in school, and it's friendships, and it's drama. There's drama in elementary school.
Yes,
I
I'm
found
learning
that
that.
out. And then it's like every single thing. And then middle school is a whole other ball of wax.
Yep.
You know, and now it's high school, and she has a boyfriend, and that just adds a whole other layer of challenges. And I think it's just my priority is making sure that we're close enough that we have that really strong bond.
Yeah.
And like, that's my priority now.
So that she can come to you when she needs you.
And I know, luckily, she had a challenging year last year that we had that relationship. And sometimes, and I'm sure you've experienced it too, as a mom, things are out of your control.
Yep.
And you just have to pray and hope for the best. And
just watch it play out. But it hurts sometimes to watch it play out.
It literally kills when you feel helpless, that you can't help your child.
Yeah. Now, I've heard you use the word priority twice. And I've heard you use it in the context of Maddie. What about Karolyn? When do you prioritize yourself?
I don't do it often enough. And I think I always put her first because I never felt that my parents did. And I love my parents, God rest their soul. Yeah. But school concerts, my parents never went to. School functions, my parents never went to. My sister and I don't think we were our parents' priorities. And they had a broken marriage. So I think they were trying to work on their own issues.
They had their own issues.
So I always say, like, I'm here, and everything I do for her. My husband is very much in the same mindset. Like, Maddie's our priority. And everything that we do as a couple is really focused on her.
Yeah. How does that impact your relationship? Tell me about Karolyn, the wife. What does that look like?
Well, if you ask Ben. No.
Hey, Ben.
Ben and I have been together for quite some time. And I will say that Ben is my best friend.
Wait, what's quite some time? Because it's a long time.
Ben, I have known Ben for probably 23 years.
Wow.
So we've been a couple for probably 18, 19.
Yeah.
And my anniversary is in 2 weeks. We'll be married 11 years.
That's awesome.
Yes.
All right. So keep telling me. Tell me about Karolyn as a wife.
I do love to cook. That's my de-stress. So Ben and I kind of have this routine where we both de-stress as a couple. And I'm in the kitchen talking about my day, cooking dinner. He's sitting at like our island, the same thing. And that's like our routine.
Yeah.
Sometimes we don't eat dinner together. Sometimes we're in two different places, but we do find the time.
Yeah.
Even if it's, 15 minutes where it's just like we're talking together, like what's going on with you. And and it's the same.
It's hard. Relationships are hard.
They are hard because I do think when you have children, your husband doesn't necessarily become your priority.
Right. That's right. He becomes second or third or fourth, depending on how many you have.
So
how do you prioritize your marriage?
I don't do it often enough.
Okay. But when you do, you find those moments.
You definitely find those moments.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that creating a strong foundation for Maddie is something that is really important to both of us. So if we're upset with one another, we talk about it. We may not talk right away about it,
which is okay. Listen, I am one of those people that will never give that advice of, don't go to bed angry. I'm like, BS, go to bed angry because sometimes you need time to think.
You have to digest it.
Yeah, and you have to sit in your feelings and honor those feelings.
And I think you have to choose your words too.
Agreed. And I at least know when I'm emotional, my words aren't the nicest.
It's that saying, say what you mean what you say, but don't say it mean.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I've never heard that last part. Oh. Don't say it mean. Well, thank you. I love that. So it sounds to me like you and Ben are trying to create a good human in this world. And that really you were trying to have some of your goodness, right? And you're leading by example, right? I see you as a community leader. I see you as someone who exemplifies a role model, especially for young women and young girls. And I love hearing
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah. And obviously I'm biased because I'm your friend and I love you. But I see it. And when I hear you talk about your relationship with your daughter, and for the first time hearing how it's contrast of how your relationship was with your parents, I think it means so much more. So how do you teach Maddie to be a good human?
I teach her that to be kind, because you never know what somebody's going through. And being kind can go a really long way. I remember one time we were on the park at Bowdoin Park, and she was probably 8, 9 years old. And it was chilly or whatnot. So my husband and I were sitting in the car, and we could clearly, the playground was literally so close. So she wanted to go out and play. And there was these 2 other girls on the playground. Now, Maddie is always very outgoing. So as a younger child, she always be like, oh, do you want to play? Do you want to be my friend? And she must have talked to these 2 girls, and she came back to the car crying. And I was like, what is wrong? And she said, well, I asked them to be my friend, and they said no. I wanted to cry for her. I wanted to do other things, but I was like,
yeah,
these girls, they were probably like 11, 12 years old. How could you be so cruel to somebody that just wanted to hang on a playground?
Yeah.
So I think she uses that as a lesson, and she's always really good making sure whether she's on a volleyball team with someone, or even growing up, if she was somewhere and someone was off to the side, she'd always go up to them, even kids that were new in school.
Yeah.
Do you want to come sit with us?
Yeah.
So I think she learned that life lesson early on, and it's just always telling her to be mindful, be nice, be kind.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I have had a similar but yet very different experience with my 11-year-old. We had the experience where there was a little girl who was very much a bully in 4th grade to Allie, and we went from be friends with everyone to me teaching her boundaries and teaching her how, no, you don't have to be friends with everyone. And there's such a difference in teaching kindness in that way when you see someone eating alone, when you see, and let me tell you, even that is not easy for them because, I mean, and I'm going off in a million tangents, but my 14-year-old has a hard time every time we tell him, if you see someone sitting alone, go say hi. And he's like, well, that's just weird, Mom. And I'm like, yeah, but what if they're sad that day? What if, you can change someone's life, but their personality gets involved and it's like, well, I don't know. I'm not comfortable with that. But Allie, my now 11-year-old, had an experience where the other little girl was just really mean. And, at school, she's being taught and being pushed to be friends. You have to. And here I am at home saying, actually, let's talk boundaries. And let's say that it's okay to say, I don't want to play today. Or, I'm not ready to be your friend again. You hurt me. Right? How do you have those challenging conversations?
It's so hard because when you're talking about like friend groups, there's pressures.
Yeah.
I think. And like I said, there's drama in elementary school, there's drama in middle school. And It's just about kind of knowing your own limit. Like, how does this person make you feel?
Yeah.
You know, and I tell her all the time, like, the older you get, you're going to understand that you don't want toxic people in your life, and you'll strongly identify when someone is being toxic, when someone's talking behind your back. That's not a true friend. And I always remember, and I've told her this as well, there's this poem, and I don't know who wrote it, but I often reflect on it. And it's a poem called The Dash, and it talks about a person's life and a person's death. So when a person dies, you have your birth date, and then when a person passes, you have their death date. It's separated by a dash. And you can reflect, like, what happened during that person's life? How was their dash spent?
Wow.
And I think about that so much because you're here for such a short time that you have to be happy. You have to live a life worth living.
Do you think you're living your life worth living?
There's moments that I am, but there's still so much more that I want to do,
Yeah.
that I want to accomplish, that I hope God lets me stay here a lot longer, you know, so I can truly say when it's my time, I've lived a life worth living.
Yeah. Let's talk about that life. Let's talk about some of the challenges and things that you've faced. Have there been any life-changing moments? Have there been any significant things that happen in your life where you have felt that pivot?
Probably the loss of my mom. We'll try to not cry. So I lost my mom
Crying is
about
allowed.
10 years ago. She had cancer, and it was in January, and my nephew was turning 21. Yes, I am that old. My nephew was turning 21, and we all had plans, my mom, my sister, my nephew, to all go out and celebrate his 21st birthday. But his birthday's in January. I think it snowed, snowstorm. We had to reschedule.
Winter babies.
And then when it came time to reschedule, I had already had plans for like a fundraising luncheon that Leadership Orange had bought a ticket. And I was only 3 years into the job. So I was like, I can't waste the money. Like, I have to go to this event. So I told my family, you know, I'll celebrate Elise's birthday. No worries. Go out, have a good time. I'm at this luncheon, and my mom is sending me text messages. I loved that my mom knew how to text.
Yes.
I was like, that's awesome. My sister, they all had such a great time. Wonderful photos, incredible memories. And I'm at this luncheon. Long story short is 2 weeks after that photo was taken, she was in the hospital with pneumonia.
Oh.
And because she had gotten pneumonia, she couldn't have her chemo treatments. And she took a downward spiral very quickly.
Yeah.
So I always think back, like, what was wrong with me? How did I choose a business lunch over a memory, over an experience?
Why would you think something's wrong? Did you make the best decision possible in that moment?
No, I didn't, because when it comes time to it, nobody ever says, I wish I went to that luncheon.
Oh, they don't remember the luncheon.
You don't remember the luncheon, but you remember those experiences like that. And from that point forward, I've always prioritized my family. Like, I'll never get that back. I will always choose my family and my friends over anything work related.
That was a life lesson for you.
It's very difficult.
Painful one.
Painful, just precious time. You can't get that time back.
Yeah. And we hear so often that we don't learn those lessons until we do.
Yeah.
Until those moments happen. And
So true.
You know, and I want to sit here and embrace you and say, no, you did the best you could in that moment. Don't blame yourself. Don't have guilt over it. But had you not felt that way, had that not been your process, then you would not have learned that for yourself. And maybe that's what you needed to learn. Maybe that was the lesson God was giving you in that moment of you've got to remember who your priority is.
Could very well be.
Yeah. And maybe there's someone out there listening and that's what they need to hear. That's the message. How was the grieving process?
Oddly enough, I was given a gift that when someone passes, and she was very sick, she ended up in a coma in the hospital. So at that point, you have an opportunity to say everything that you want to say.
Yes.
And
That is a gift.
I'm going to cry. Before she closed her eyes, she said, "I love you." And that's my gift.
Yeah.
And that is,
beautiful.
aside from Maddie, the best gift that I've ever gotten.
Oh.
So the grieving process, I mean, to see her not in pain and to know that she was just in peace helped me.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times with the grieving process, you don't get a chance to say goodbye. You don't get a chance to say those words. I had that. So it's a weird gift in a way.
Yeah.
But
It's not weird at all. It's a blessing. It's a gift.
it's a gift, and it's hard when you lose your mom.
Yeah.
I lost my dad. It was just as hard, but when you lose your mom.
Oh, that special bond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said I wasn't going to cry.
Yeah, nice job on that one.
Thanks.
Well, I'm glad you did. I'm really so glad you did. I was just somewhere, and one of the things that I took away from it, I was in a conversation about women's mental health, and one of the things I took away was the power and importance of crying. So, no, I will not offer you a tissue. Cry, like cry. It's, and it's okay. And it reminded me very recently, I was having a moment where something triggered me and I was holding my 4-year-old and I started to cry. And I worked so hard on not showing my 4-year-old that I was crying, and I was going like this, and he felt it. And I know he felt it because he hugged me harder.
Oh.
And after listening to this speaker talk about the importance and it being okay to cry, and sometimes modeling that it's okay to cry, I wish I would have taken the opportunity to say thank you to my son. Thank you for letting mommy cry with you. Because I want my children to grow up knowing that we have emotions, and those emotions sometimes need to be let out through crying. So thank you for crying and showing us being authentic. Because if you sit here and push it back and wipe it back, and then it's not what you're feeling in that moment. And this space is about that authenticity and how can I create that space in those moments? And you absolutely showed it. So let's talk about inspirations. What inspires you in this world?
I think other people. I feed off of other people. I think I'm a better person because of other people.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit more.
To hear a story, to see someone's actions, to rise above something is very meaningful to me. And just seeing how a person can overcome the hand that they were dealt and come out like fearless and strong, and it's really quite moving. And I always say to myself, like, it's almost like don't sweat the small stuff, pick and choose your battles.
Yep.
Like
All those cliches, but they're so real.
they're so real. It's like, I'm not going to be upset about XYZ because this person had so many obstacles, and look, they're smiling, they're thriving. So it's almost like you check yourself.
Yeah.
So that really is what inspires me, is other people.
Oh, I felt that to the heart, to the core, because I too am a people person, and I too love learning from others and without them even realizing, right? Because I think so often we forget that someone else is looking. Someone else is listening to what we're saying, whether it's a young person, whether it's an adult. I have a close friend who could be my mother, and the friendship that I have with her is so meaningful to me. And I try to remember to tell her that, how grateful I am for that friendship, because I learn from her and I take in the wisdom, right? The knowledge, the inspiration. But if we're not open to that, if we move around the world being closed off, thinking that it's just us and we're in our little bubble, we don't grow. We don't. So thank you for acknowledging people. Inspirations. What do you think someone else would say about you and how you inspire them?
Oh, I would say that my close friends and even, colleagues, past participants would probably say I'm a compassionate person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a people pleaser. I'm stern when I have to be, but I generally just want the best for everyone.
Yeah.
I want to try to bring out the best in everyone. So I think they would say I'm fair. Some may say I'm funny, and I may live a life like Lucille Ball and at times, with the candy machine and stuffing so many things in her pocket and things getting out of hand. But I do hope that somebody could look at me and be like, she did this, or that's really incredible, or even whoever it is. If I affect one person's life, then I did my job. Because you're here for a reason.
Yeah.
People are here for a reason, right?
Do you feel like you have figured out your reason? Do you know your reason on being here or your purpose in life?
Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Do you find like you search for it, or are you kind of waiting for it to come?
I'm waiting.
Yeah.
Like there's been moments, in my career that I've been really happy with. So career-wise, I feel like I'm starting to leave that legacy.
Mm-hmm.
In my personal life, I'm not there yet.
Okay. Let's talk about your career first, and then we'll talk about your personal life a little more. So you're the executive director of Leadership Orange. Tell us a little bit about what is Leadership Orange, but also about this legacy you're leaving.
So Leadership Orange is a leadership organization for adults and youth who live, work, play, stay in Orange County. And we hope that the individuals that go through our program really want to make a difference in their community. Maybe they want to join a planning board, a school board. Maybe they want to run for office. Maybe they want to join a not-for-profit board, because there's so many nonprofits in the county that, as a nonprofit herself, we need good board people.
Yeah.
We need people to drive that mission.
Yeah. And how does Leadership Orange, do you find, help shape folks who want to be of service?
I think it's connecting them with the right people, talking about the issues that affect Orange County.
Yeah.
Talking about, connecting them with experts in the field and giving them an opportunity, the tools. So if you want to run for school board, some people may not have any idea what that process is, or even what happens at a school board meeting. I would hope that every single person, whether you have a child in school or not, you attend one school board meeting, because it does affect you, whether you think it doesn't or not.
Yeah.
But even your planning board meeting, it's just go out there and make that difference. Be that voice.
It's that whole placemaking concept that I just very recently learned about.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right? It's about being an active participant in your community and creating the community you want to live in. Right? How do you feel that your leadership is, first of all, how has your leadership evolved? Because you've been with the agency how long?
Going on 13 years.
Yeah. Do you find that your leadership has evolved?
Yes.
All right. Let's talk about that. How do you feel that you have evolved as a leader in your role?
I think age also, I'm a little bit older now. Just a little. It's just being more confident in your role. I have my voice, where probably early on in my career, I would listen to the voice of others. But now I know, I think what's best, for our organization, that I love it. I love the organization, that it's my livelihood, and I'm going to make sure that it's here for another 32 years.
Yeah. 32. That's really specific.
32, yeah.
Wait, is that the anniversary this year, 32?
I think it's 32 or 33.
Okay.
It's been in Orange County a very long time. But I think it's also that I'm more confident in my role. And I think when you are a more confident leader, you can lead better.
Yeah.
And I think even my relationship with individuals, I just had one of our class members who was going through some personal things come up to me at our last session, and she just walked in and she gave me a hug, and she just said, I want to thank you for being as wonderful as you are, because you've been so kind. So even being that kind leader, that empathetic leader, is leading where people need to be led.
What do you think are some of your points of growth that you need as a leader? Something you're always working on, or that you need to work on?
Me personally?
Yeah.
Think before I act. So I'm really trying to, as things come up, trying to take a moment to really digest the information and really take a look at the bigger picture, to make sure that I'm just not reacting out of emotion.
Yeah. Are you normally an emotionally reactive person?
I'm Italian, so yes.
I'm Dominican,
it's
so
killing
I
me
get
not to talk with my hands right now.
Have you seen how many times I've hit the microphone? I can't help it.
But yeah, definitely thinking before I react, and just being calm, and also, nobody likes confrontation.
No, it's not.
But you can have compassionate confrontation.
Yeah.
It goes back to say what you mean what you say, but don't say it mean.
Yeah.
It goes such a long way.
It does. It does. And how do you work on yourself as a leader? What do you do to, I guess, to improve those things, those challenges that you have?
I think that just comes with time, and that just comes with experience, and sometimes it's also, if I know I'm going into a challenging situation, it's taking a little bit of extra care of myself. That day, I may get up 45 minutes earlier and just sit with a cup of coffee and just reflect on the day, and maybe anticipate outcomes, anticipate challenges, and kind of walk through in my mind what that might look at. So it's preparing myself a little bit more.
Yourself. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So you take some time in the morning. Is that part of your self-care?
Yes.
I love that. So tell me, what else do you do for self-care?
I like wine.
Ooh, wine's good.
I mentioned earlier, I do love to cook. So typically after a session day, I love to come home, open a bottle of wine, cook a nice meal, and just de-stress. And if Ben is in the kitchen, that's awesome. We'll talk. If he's not, I'm perfectly fine putting on some music and just this is my zone.
I love that.
And I don't, I love my job. It's very rare that I have challenging days. And I say sometimes to de-stress, I think it's just leaving your house so early, commute depending on where you are for that particular day, and then coming home and then thinking about, okay, Maddie's got volleyball, or I have to go pick her up here, go pick her up there. So it's
it's juggling the million things you have to sometimes.
It's the juggler, but you know what? One day I'm going to miss it. So,
oh my gosh, what does the future look like for Karolyn when Maddie is in college?
I'm a bit of a stalker. And I told her, just like I followed that bus when she hopped on in kindergarten.
Are you going to follow her to college?
I'm going to follow her to college.
Karolyn.
I am. I already told Ben and I already have a plan. She goes to college. She wants to go someplace where it's warm.
Okay.
And I was like, Mommy's going to follow you.
Listen, especially if it's warm.
Right? I want to wake up.
it.
I want to see the ocean.
Oh, I love it.
I would love that, but I don't know if that's realistic.
Of course it's not.
I know everybody wants
or healthy
as
either.
their children to grow and thrive, and we're just so close. And I think I'm going to be devastated, but to see her live her best life is something that's just going to make me so proud.
And can you imagine how she's going to feel when she sees you living your best life too? Right? Because it goes both ways.
That. Yeah.
Right? She's going to be also proud and excited that Mom, who has given everything for her, also gets her opportunity and her chance to live her best life.
And I think about that.
Yeah, I know. Well, something to think about.
Yeah.
All right. So my friend, as we have a few minutes to close, I want to talk about, wrap up this conversation around being a good human, right? Because as our audience has heard, you are someone who is loved in this community, who is respected, who is leaving a legacy for others, the legacy of service, the legacy of leadership. You're an excellent mom. You're a wife. You're a friend, right? You wear so many hats, and you continue to grow and find your not just strengths, but your areas of growth. And I appreciated your honesty a few times when you said, not enough, right? I don't do this enough. I don't do this. Let's go back to that good human, because I think that it is in our imperfection that we find the goodness in ourselves and in others, right? So you mentioned kindness. What else makes a good human?
Oh, I think just love. You have to love. You have to be your authentic self.
I love that.
You have to be you. I mean, and it's okay to have your not so great you days. I think it's respect too. To have respect is really important, because I feel that if a person doesn't have respect, like I don't understand, that baffles me. I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love that. So love, authenticity, and respect for others.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, my friend, this was special. I appreciate it so much. I appreciate how real and true you are with us. The tears, the laughter. I love it all. I am so grateful, really, truly, for this opportunity. And I hope that everyone who is watching and listening from home also has the opportunity to appreciate your authenticity and with the great conversation we had. So I want to invite everyone to follow us, to like, to subscribe, hit that share button. You can find us on all major platforms, but help us share the wonderful story of our good human for today, Karolyn Thompson. And remember, love, authenticity, respect, and a special, super duper special thank you to our sponsor for season 2, Walden Savings Bank, who is really focusing on community-based giving back. And just like we talked today, it's about the community, right? Yeah. So thank you. Till the next time, my friends, Inaudi Gill, Good Human Chronicles.